Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
Ooh, happy Halloween from the scariest Thursday footy show on the radio. Welcome to Soccer in 60. We've got a spooktacular show for you today, and it's playoff time. And after a week of eating the best bagels in the world, I'm here to talk a little LAFC with my buddy Philly as they added a main player to their team this past weekend. Big Mo, with momentum on their side. They had a great weekend in the opening round playoff game. We're going to talk LA Galaxy and their nightmare they presented to the Colorado Rapids with a slashing good game on Saturday night. We've got a great interview lined up with Jordan Harvey, currently the Assistant Technical Director at LAFC. Philly caught up with him earlier today. Nina Kiefer stops by for Angel City update and the best 11 of the weekend. And Orange County rounds us out as they roll into the playoffs with the 6th seed. With me today is my frightfully fun co-host, Philly.
It's Darth Philly to you, Tiki Tim. Darth Philly is how we're going to go on this spooktacular Thursday, my friend. The best bagels in the world, you're damn right. They come from New York City. I'm glad you were there, had a good time, saw that you enjoyed Madison Square Garden. And, yeah, that's awesome stuff. And happy Halloween, everybody out there listening today.
Yeah, happy Halloween. Philly has turned into Darth Philly, and I'm Tiki Philly today as I'm pulling on my flamingo shirts today and being Tiki Philly with all my tiki drinks. Hey, Philly, why don't you get us rocking and rolling on LAFC, because we got a great show today.
Absolutely. LAFC gave Vancouver once again the I am your father. And for those listening, by the way, I'm legit wearing a Darth Vader mask. Look, you said we have Jordan Harvey coming on. That was an awesome segment, so we kept it rolling. And as a result of that, it actually cuts right in to our Vancouver playoffs recap and preview. But I feel like at this point, we've talked quite a bit about Vancouver already. So with that being said, I'll spare you the data that you already know. Let's get into this recap. LAFC gets ready to take the pitch for the 47th time in all competitions this season and the 100th game that they've played in since the start of last year. Vancouver is in this position by way of decimating Portland at Providence Park in the wild card. We got to go real quick on this. 7 minutes in, Vancouver had an opportunity. Great pass in from Stuart Armstrong. Break it past Maxime Chenot. Brian White had Hugo Lloris beat, but LAFC's biggest teammate for the match was the left post. And lucky that was the case. 30th minute rolls in. Tristan Blackman of Vancouver, formerly of LAFC, forever black and gold. And this was an example of him reminding us how much he misses us as he gets a handball on the counter from Giroux. He has the pass over to Matty Bogus, fires his shot, catches Blackman by the arm. That sets up Denis Bouanga, Denis the Destroyer. He goes left. Takaoka, Vancouver's keeper, goes right. And there you have it, folks. The 8th postseason goal of Denis Bouanga's career. He now has 8 goals in 9 playoff games with LAFC, as well as 8 goals in 9 all-time games against Vancouver. Denis the Destroyer taking care of business. He has now scored 66 goals for LAFC in 93 games. There was a little bit of craziness as Ryan Gold hits the post again in the 45th plus second minute. A lot going on. But in the 57th minute, 14th goal in all competitions for Kike Oliveira. He scores a banger. It was a beautiful ball movement succession. Denis to Giroux, Giroux to Hollingshead. That ball comes into Oliveira, smashes it. That's the type of chemistry that LAFC needs to have happen. Although Vancouver would get one back in the 90th plus 5, courtesy of Ryan Gold. It was a defensive lapse of judgment. Ball gets by Hugo Lloris. Bad defense. Hugo let his teammates know it. But that's how it ends, folks. 2-1 LAFC. Their next game is going to be on Sunday, November the 3rd at 5:45. And if Vancouver gets the win, which would really piss me off, by the way, because my card's going to get charged again for another freaking Vancouver game, they play on Friday, November the 8th at BMO at 8 p.m. You don't need a preview of the next round because all we talk about is Vancouver. That being said, we got an awesome interview with Jordan Harvey. Let's get going with that.
All right, we're back with the interview segment of Soccer in 60. Today's guest is the Assistant Technical Director of LAFC and a true SoCal original hailing from South Orange County. He's a former UCLA Bruin and an icon with the fans of not one, but two MLS clubs, as he's played for the Vancouver Whitecaps as a left back nearly 180 times between 2011 and 2017. That was followed by 4 seasons with LAFC, in which he wore the black and gold close to 80 times and was an integral part of the club's Supporter Shield triumph of 2019. Earlier in his career, he also laced up for the Colorado Rapids and the Philadelphia Union. Folks, we are so honored to have with us Mr. Jordan Harvey. Jordan, welcome to Soccer in 60.
Thank you so much for having me. I see the surfboard in the background. It looks like you've turned into a true Californian. Are you hitting the waves very often?
No, and when I do, I hit him very poorly, but it's a great sport to suck at, that's for sure, because all you do is hit the water. I'm not opposed to that.
When you're on the beach. Yeah, no, I appreciate the introduction. I started out my career in Southern California, went various places, but always wanted to end up back here in LA. So it's nice to be here.
It's always nice to be home. Now, going through your bio, obviously we know each other from your playing days, but now as an assistant technical director, I feel a bit overwhelmed by all the different things that someone in your position could have on their plate. Like, if you don't mind, could you give us a rundown of your current responsibilities and what a typical day-to-day looks like for you?
Yeah. So, initially when I retired, started to do a little coaching. And then as the year went on, started to gravitate more to the front office. And then with MLS Next Pro coming in, started to get more and more responsibility. So I basically am a bridge between the first team, second team, and academy. I track the talented players coming up through our academy to sign them to the second team. And then those players, as they progress, signing them to the first team. So I am in kind of overlook the player pathway, the professional player pathway here at LAFC. I love it. It's very enjoyable. I love getting back in tune with club soccer, which there's a lot of very talented players in and around Southern California, tapping into some of the guys I used to play with way back when, now heads of clubs in this area. MLS Next Pro, it's an amazing platform for some of our young talent. We have a philosophy of playing young players and giving them the opportunity to develop. So you'll see them progressing over the next few years. And then as they get to that point, coming up to the first team. And so having, as you said, been in Southern California, done this professional pathway myself, I feel like I have a lot of advice and a lot of mentorship to offer. And so, yeah, that's my day in, day out right now, preparing for the MLS draft. LAFC 2 is currently out of the playoffs, so the full focus in this building is the first team and preparing them. And in doing that, it's preparation for next year. So right now, it's a lot of video, a lot of working with the scouts, the coaching staff to see what next year looks like.
I mean, quite a transition from the playing days to the front office days. Local legend, club legend, soon to be front office legend. But let's go back to your playing days, in particular your time coming back to LAFC. You joined the club in 2018 out of the 2017 campaign with Vancouver. Given that you're from this greater Los Angeles area and even played your college soccer for the Bruins at UCLA, talk to us a little bit about how the move came about and what it meant to you at the time.
Well, being in Vancouver, we've had relatively different amounts of success, whether that's the Canadian Championship or runs in Champions League, at times being ahead of the pack in the Western Conference. But, at the end of that 17th season, I was looking for something different. I knew LAFC was coming in. Having played with John Thorrington, I knew him as well. I knew it was going to be run at the top and have really high standards. They brought in Carlos Vela, Bob Bradley. Everything was coming into place. I saw the stadium plans, but it was something that my wife and I never really wanted to talk about because we didn't want to jinx it. It was something I was at the end of my 17th season. I was a free agent. And it was honestly just a hope that would work. We had talked to a few different clubs, but when LAFC came knocking, it was my full focus trying to get here. With no expectations coming in, knowing I was an older player at that time, and just coming in to support in whatever way I possibly could, whether that's as a backup or a starter, any way I could, just given the years I'd already spent in the league and wanting to finish my career in LA. As that first year went on, got the opportunities, and as I showed throughout my whole career, once I got it, I tried to keep it and never let it go. And so it was honestly the most fun I've ever had playing professionally, collegiately. Anything was my time here at LAFC.
Now I got to ask you this: with LAFC having to get past your old club, Vancouver, to keep chasing that MLS Cup, like, I literally can't think of a single better person to talk to about this matchup other than you. Now, obviously, the two teams have faced each other, a million times as of late. I think 10 times in the past 2 seasons. And it's only fitting that they would meet in the postseason again. Now, do you enjoy all these games against the Whitecaps, or do you find it, I don't know, more annoying because only one of the two teams closest to you can get the win?
I have my fondness for Vancouver Whitecaps. It's overall, it's the city, it's the people I was there with. I spent 7 years there, got married, started a family. So it holds a very close place in my heart. Coming back to LA with LAFC, when it comes to football, this is my club. This is it. I'm all in. And so there's no like on the fence here. It's LAFC, and there's so much turnover in MLS. Let's be honest. The players that are there aren't the players that I played with. There's a few staff members, maybe a few people in the front office, but it's a completely different team. And that changes, honestly, every couple of years, depending on if you're successful, if you're not. And so this team that Vancouver has put together, though, is probably one of the best teams they've had in over a decade. The roster is made up of some really talented players. They're getting the most out of some of those fringe guys. They're changing guys' mentality. You see it. I think Gald is one of the best DPs in the league. Really, really love how he plays and fights for every ball, leads that team by example. And then they have some veteran guys that they like even Krylak, who's coming off the bench. Even just having him there is a really good piece. So I really like what they've done with the roster. They have a really good team. But no, my allegiance is with LAFC. So there's no worrying there.
Speaking of Krylak, I still have PTSD from that 2018 first round against RS. It just makes me cringe.
Yes, every time he comes on the field, even the other night, I was like, man, he scores a lot of good goals here. He hasn't the last few times, but yes, in those Salt Lake days, I was always worried where he was.
Yeah. Now, you were a member of that Supporter Shield winning side in 2019. Then you saw up close and personal the MLS Cup winning team of 2022. How do you feel those two teams compared, and how do you feel both of them stack up against this current squad, which so far has won the 2024 U.S. Open Cup?
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue. Teams that win trophies are great teams. And when you compare the 19 team to the 22 team, which I've done a lot, we've done it internally. I've done it when commentating in 22, completely different makeups. I think that 22 team had an enormous amount of talent. It was probably, and I've said this, the best roster ever assembled in MLS history. From top to bottom, there are guys there. You could do a starting 11 that would still be one of the best teams in the league from 12 on. It was a crazy roster. And so, you combine that with a coach in Tarundalo who was very pragmatic, very personable, and it was a recipe for success. In 19, Bob was very disciplined, very rigid and detail-oriented, which with a lesser of a roster, like guys like myself, not as talented as Chiqui Palacios, but you tell me what to do and I will do it. And with that group, he was able to create a methodology and a game plan that dominated teams. It broke the record at that time. I still think, we went down the stretch. I still look back at some of the ties that we had down the stretch that could have catapulted us into almost the 80s, And so that team was very methodology, very structured, and those games just complete domination just based on our game model. And then a very good Carlos Vela, Diamande, Rossi, Ramirez, like guys who could finish. And so, and the best players at that time in the league. So those two teams, totally different styles, but very good teams. This team in particular, I think this has been one that you come into this year, you don't really know what to expect. You make some additions this summer, and now we're on a stretch where, like every team going into the playoffs, if you're on a good run, you have a chance to win it. You've already won a trophy, which that was a huge monkey off the back, so to speak, having lost a couple finals before that. So needing that to really just let the pressure off, knowing that we've won a trophy this year. And then after that game, you saw some really good performances, which led us to the Western Conference Championship, and now a really good run going into the playoffs, which it was a very professional game against Vancouver this last time. And so you can absolutely see this team winning it, just continuing on this professional performance. And that's what it is. Just a very good, industrious, pragmatic, as Cherundolo is, group where now you see this different formation, but similar game model, same principles. And you're seeing more control in the game. You see a Lewis O'Brien, who he's an amazing pickup. Tillman has now come back into form. And those two midfielders are really the engine that drives this. And then you have the Ferraris up top that put the game away. But it's a really, really tight-knit group, and a group that, based on the group that we have, this formation, the way we're playing right now, could really go on a run deep into this playoffs.
Absolutely. I think the one thing every LAFC team has had in common is they've always been entertaining and exciting. It's never been a dull moment in Greater Los Angeles, and we've been very fortunate for all of that. Now, I'm going to hop on over to, back in the day, a little further than your time at LAFC. Two of my friends, one of whom you met, Gunnar, another one who you also have met, Jonathan Reimer, they went to San Clemente High School. You went to a rival high school about 15 minutes up the 5 freeway. Now, They both told me, and you alluded to it earlier, to my surfboard, like how big was surfing, in their community and at their school? And although you weren't quite as close to the beach as those guys were, did you surf when you were young, or was it all about soccer and baseball? Like, what was life like growing up for Jordan Harvey?
Baseball and soccer all day, every day. My brother was the surfer in high school. He was the captain of the surf team, like longboarding. We'd go to San Onofre. So San Clemente, my best friend went to San Clemente. He transferred to play baseball there. I played baseball up until high school. Absolutely love baseball, still do. My coach throughout Little League was a guy named Gary McKnight, who is actually the head basketball coach for Modern Day. Very almost like a Bob Bradley type. I think I thrive with these very strict, detail-oriented coaches. But I love baseball. Had to choose, though, going into high school based on national team stuff and commitments there, and I chose soccer. And then when you talk about San Clemente, I went to Capistrano Valley, Capo. I only spent my freshman year there and my senior year. My sophomore and junior year, I went to a residency program with the under-17 national team for the World Cup. And so I was in a private school, Bradenton Academy, for 2 years. So I spent an amazing freshman year with the varsity team at Capo, where these old guys really took me under their wing. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. High school soccer, the camaraderie, the seniors were awesome people. And then I came back from my senior year, which was very nice because I had been in this kind of bubble in Bolletary, which is now IMG Academy, and just to get back to some normalcy, which ultimately has now shaped my view on our pathway here. I think there's a lot of clubs who have these little pockets in charter schools, and I think that our players should be in regular high school, maybe do some sort of hybrid, but be in a normal setting where they're normal kids, because this pathway is grueling, and it's and I know I'm going on a tangent here, but it's important for people to have some normalcy going through their childhood and as they become adults and men, because if they don't do that, if they don't have some resilience or have some normalcy, they're going to veer off in one way or another. And I've seen it. I was one of those kids myself. So, yeah, Orange County, awesome. I was an average surfer. My brother tagged, I tagged along with him to San Onofre. We'd camp out, trails, the pier, T Street, all these places, Trussell's, Cotton's Point. I'd hit up all these. I still do. I absolutely love Orange County. My family is still there, some of them in Mission Viejo. And so I'm down there all the time.
I love it. I would have loved to have had that kind of life, but no surfing in New York City. At least I wouldn't trust the East River growing up for me. Look, I know you got to go, but I got one last question. Look, I'm fascinated by the fact that you're a former sociology major, haven't achieved that degree at UCLA. I'm going to put you on the spot. Let's just say you were going to write a book about the North American soccer scene from a sociology angle. What do you think that book might be about?
Well, it's a great question. And sociology at UCLA is one of those that I got into just because a lot of athletes were, but I actually fell in love with it. I left UCLA to go professional in Colorado with the Rapids, and I could only take history courses because it was paper midterm finals. So I kind of dual majored in history and sociology. But sociology, to answer your question, it's a good question. Soccer is a perfect sport, perfect event to study sociology. It brings all cultures, backgrounds, races, sexual preferences together. That's LAFC. So you come to an LAFC game, it's about that environment. It's about bringing everyone together from different backgrounds. And it's a study. I mean, in LA, it works because everybody's accepting. If you go to different countries, you could study how their culture is you could go to a soccer game and see that, whether that's on the field or off the field. I mean, different countries, different cultures have, within their little bubble, have their own style of play. And that's very indicative of the person that is from there, whether that's Italy, whether that's England, whether that's Portugal, all these different cultures and types of people. You can see that style of play through on the field action and off the field, whether that's not as accepting. They exclude. I went to UAE and they had the women all dressed in black up in the corner. It was eye-opening to me. So you see these almost, it's almost like a very small indicator or pocket of like what society in that country, in that culture is all about. And it's through soccer. And it's wild to see that. LAFC, it was created, the slogan, shoulder to shoulder, block to block, street to street, shoulder to shoulder. You see that because you go into the 32-52 and you have someone that is a different race next to another. You have someone that is a different sexual preference next to another. And it's all this accepting and inclusion. And that's very indicative of what, maybe it's not of our whole society in the United States, but it's certainly LA. And that's why I love LAFC, because it's bigger than just a game. It's a culture. It's a family, and that's very, when you bring it back to sociology, it's an amazing study to see these different backgrounds. You could go to different places in the United States and just based on their football on and off the field in that little event, you can see what their city and society is all about.
I love it. When all is said and done, I think we might have to add the title of author and New York Times best-selling author when you're done.
Yeah, right.
Jordan, again, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I certainly appreciate all the time. These answers were phenomenal. Arguably one of the best interviews I feel like we've had on Soccer in 60. So thank you to you. Good luck to the club. Good luck at LAFC. And I'm sure I'll bump into you at BMO Stadium.
Christian, anytime, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one. Jordan Harvey, ladies and gentlemen. That being said, that was a really great interview that we had with Jordan Harvey, Tim. Well, a heck of a guy. I mean, those answers were quite long and concise. 20 minutes, though, but it didn't seem like it, right?
No, it went by like it was just like 5-10 seconds. That was amazing. It was a great interview, Philly. You did a really nice job with him. Just absolutely fantastic. So let's move over to the LA Galaxy. And let's talk about this for a minute, Philly. Crushed, dismantled, lit up like a jack-o'-lantern. That would be all realistic descriptions of the game last Saturday night. Going in with their mostly normal 4-3-3 lineup, the Galaxy have so much talent on the game that they only started one of their Marcos on the game. They left Marco Royce on the bench. So Ricky Pooch and the other Marco Delgado, start in the midfield. And this entire lineup just so happens to be the exact same lineup that they had on the 2nd of October that saw a 3-1 Galaxy victory. The Rapids counter with the 4-2-3-1 lineup, which just so happens to be the same setup they used the last game too. Sounds like the Rapids were trying to get a different outcome, but alas, that would not be so. The game winner comes early as Reggie Cannon is wrapped around Dejan Jovalic like Dracula's cape, and Jovalic gets his head on the in-swinger from a corner kick and makes it past Colorado goalkeeper Zach Steffen. Just too strong from Jovalic as he's bigger, taller, stronger, and Stefan just can't get there. And it's 1-0 early. And then that's the way the half ends. But, as the Galaxy have done consistently in, 20 games this year, the second half comes along and they just decided to let's own these guys. John Nelson, who was on the show just a couple of weeks ago, gets the scoring really rolling with a beauty into the top 90 far post after a sweet pass from Mickey Yamane. I mean, he nutbags the poor defender. John takes one tap with his foot, puts it on his right foot, and goes far post upper 90. Not only is it his first goal this season, first goal in a Galaxy uni, it's his first MLS goal period. And to get one in the playoffs, just absolutely stunning. And Jovalic and Pooch, let's see. They both get braces in this game as Pooch can't be outdone by Dejan. The goal of the night, though, really truly belongs to Nelson, as after his goal, the Rapids were broken and the domination by the Galaxy just got more from the 52nd minute on. The keys to this game really were the inability of Colorado to keep pace with the speed of the Galaxy brought. And this has been an issue for most teams. You're seeing Pooch and Peck and Jovalic just run roughshod all over these guys. Royce comes on for Delgado in the 69th minute and was involved in both the 4th and the 5th goal. So when you can pull a guy like Marco Royce off the bench and have him only play 21 minutes, and then he doesn't get on the scoreboard, but he's absolutely involved in both of these goals. It was fun to watch. It was great to see. And there was no notice of any of that injury that he had taken, that little knock that he had a few weeks ago that kept him out of the second to last game of the regular season. He had none of that. He looked good and strong, controlling that midfield. The Galaxy now travel over to Dick's Sporting Goods Park in Commerce City, Colorado this weekend. The game's at 6:30, so you'll be able to check it out on Apple TV. And the playoffs are a best of 3 setup this year. So in previous years, there had been, the 2 games, and it was a little mini game at the end. Now, after what Coach Greg Vanney called the best game of the Galaxy's season, they're going to have to go into Colorado at elevation, a full 5,000 feet above sea level, and fight a little bit of the elements and kind of get after Colorado, though. But, the key stats, like I mentioned a second ago, when you can hold Colorado or any team for that matter to only 1 shot that wasn't even on target, they had 0 shots on target that entire game. So John McCarthy sat back there, watched his boys just run roughshod over the Rapids, and John was great. He kept control of the game from that back line. And like I mentioned a minute ago, speed absolutely destroys and defenses. And Pooch, Peck, Jovalic, they were they were just running past guys. And if you look at both of Ricky's goals, both of these goals were from him coming in with speed, catching a nice pass, and just burning Stefan, low post, both shots. And it was just, you look at that, and I really have a hard time thinking that Colorado can do anything else other than just, get smoked again. Joseph Paintsill continues to be a little bit snake bit, but you know what snake bit is? Snake bit is that you're getting your opportunities, and he's also getting an opportunity just because he's a speed burning baby. It's awesome to watch Paintsill. He got a loose ball, chipped it over the Stefan's head, and by luck or hook or by crook, it just happened to bounce to the left side of that post and not in the net. Even the announcers couldn't figure out how that thing didn't go in. But there's a few things that they're going to have to deal with at altitude up in Commerce City, but that pressing attack that they're working on, Philly, it's just amazing. And I'm just wondering if it's going to be another scary weekend for the Colorado Rapids, or if they might put up a fighting chance against the Galaxy this weekend.
I mean, I don't think elevation is really going to matter. I mean, the Galaxy have owned the Colorado Rapids quite successfully and substantially all as of late. I mean, you talk about the fact that they only had one shot and none of them on target. They hardly had possession. And then if you go over the course of total passes, Galaxy had 760 passes with nearly a 92% passing accuracy. The Rapids, a measly 383 with just under 83%. They barely had the ball. This is basically a varsity team taking on a JV team. And the Rapids and their head coach, Chris Armas, are really stinking lucky that this isn't a head-to-head, a home and away scenario where they would go based on aggregate. Because in that case, they might as well just call the game in Dick's Sporting Goods Park and then just head on over to the bar. You want to talk about shots? Shots is what they're going to need. To cure the stench of this horrific butt kicking. I mean, anytime a team puts 5 on the scoreboard, it's going to batten up some eyes and drop some jaws. Galaxy obviously playing with a chip on their shoulder after giving up the Western Conference to LAFC in the final seconds of decision day. So they clearly have a lot to play for, and they want to be that team that is the best in the West. But obviously, Colorado still stands in their way. Dick's Sporting Goods Park, a whole different animal. And I've been there. I've seen games there. And it's a fine place. Commerce City, when you're around there looking, you'd think you weren't in Denver because it's all flat around there. It's kind of funny. It's well outside of the city. You don't even have to pay for parking. It's the most amazing thing ever, Tim. Most amazing thing. But that's not going to be an atmosphere nor a scenario that I think is going to impede in the Galaxy's progress. At this point, Greg Vanney knows his old U.S. men's national team teammate Chris Armas a little too well. I do think that the Galaxy are going to come out of Dick's Sporting Goods Park quite easily, moving on into the next round. I think they take on the winner of either RSL or Minnesota, and that was a surprise, by the way. Minnesota beating RSL and PK. No surprise quite like the New Jersey Energy Drinks. I mean, the New York Red Bulls beating the Columbus Crew, but then Galaxy win it 2-0, and they move on to the next round.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think just the speed and the talent that the Galaxy have are just going to far outshadow what the Colorado Rapids had. And like you said, it's nice and flat out in Commerce City. It's on that little plateau. And really, truly, that altitude, while everybody makes a big deal about it, it's only a big deal on about your third or fourth day when you're sitting there at elevation. And typically the Galaxy will fly in either a day or maybe 2 days before and then play the game and then hopscotch right out of there. So Denver's easy to get in and out of, except for the big, giant, bumpy rides. And just kind of like Dallas and Fort Worth Airport, the Denver airport is nowhere near Denver. It's actually a shorter drive from the Denver airport to Commerce City than it is to Denver, which is really funny. It's about a 20-minute drive less to get into Commerce City than it is to get into Denver. But, tactically, so Philly, I know that you're following much more of the LAFC, but why is it, do you think, that these other teams, especially like Colorado, that comes in with a 4-2-3-1, leaving that back midfield wide open for speed demons like Pack and Paintsill? Why do you think they're doing that? Do they think that the 3 guys in that high midfield are going to be able to slow those guys down?
Clearly, they think they do, but obviously, they need to check what the Galaxy have done over the past the season. They've killed everybody with some of the best midfield to forward connections that we've seen in Major League Soccer. I mean, Ricky Pooch outnumbers everybody in Major League Soccer by such a vast number in terms of touches on the ball, and he's looked fantastic this season. But it's because Will Kuntz, who's now the GM of the team, added so many players along the likes of a Paintsel and a Peck that really help complement Ricky's game. Ricky is the linchpin of that entire team, the heart and soul, the straw that stirs the drink, the Jägermeister in a Red Bull and Jaeger. Like, he's just an unbelievable player, but there aren't very many teams that can contend with the Galaxy. We've seen their record this season. Very few people have given them a run for their money. Colorado is not a team that can. So why they allowed these guys to hang on to possession? I mean, basically, they just gave them the ball and told them to run with it. Galaxy likes to beat you on the counter, but, I mean, there really was no offense that we saw whatsoever by Colorado. And if there is an Achilles heel that the Galaxy have been said to have, it's been their defense. But you only have one shot on target and none of them one shot on goal and none of them on target. That's on the defense. John McCarthy did nothing. He was like the character Julie the Cat Gaffney in the movie Mighty Ducks 2, as she's going down. I am bored. I am bored. I am very bored. And that's all credit to the defense.
Yeah, and the defense is, once they put John Nelson in there, and he's really been that stalwart. Even the announcer said it at the start of the game. They said once the Galaxy really got rolling with him on that back left side, the Galaxy's defense is really, really shored up. And I don't think it's a detriment to the team anymore. So with that, let's hop over to the Strykers and MASL, the Major Arena Soccer League here. That's the highest level of professional indoor soccer in the world, Philly. They just had their combine and the draft all this past weekend, and you were down there hanging out at brand new Front Wave Arena down there in Oceanside, California. How was that?
That I was, Tiki Philly. Yeah, it was a great time. Front Wave Arena is marvelous. I was there with Jonathan the Dr. Reimer and Panda. We spent a good portion of Sunday there because we had to haul butt and get over to UC Riverside. But the arena was nice. And yeah, like you said, the combine took place from Saturday to Tuesday, to be precise. Then there was an MASL draft. But there was also a USA versus Mexico game that took place, one in which had the USA win by a score of 4-3. Empire Strykers, Stefan Mijatovic would score in that game, as did two former Striker/Fury players in that Jesus Pacheco, now of the Baltimore Blast, and Charlie Gonzalez, now of the San Diego Sockers, doing it for Mexico. But the arena was amazing. Great crowd at the game. Our good friend Craig Elston was on the call. So that's how that panned out. And you had you had two players from the combine that were talented enough that were selected to play on the USA and Mexico. So a great experience for them. And then that brings us into the MASL draft on Tuesday. You had 3 rounds. The Strykers selected 3 players. And I'll go through them really quickly with descriptions given, courtesy of our producer and head of PR for Strykers, Gunnar Burns. First round, Nick Hyde. Was a draft pick. A kid from San Diego, temporarily moved to Northern California, played Division I collegiately in the Big West at UC Davis, also played in the UPSL. So he's a kid that comes from that 11 aside. He was selected as the 4th overall pick. Second round, we picked up another young player by the name of Bogdan Jelic. Supposed to play collegiately at Grand Canyon in his hometown of Phoenix, but COVID messed that up. So he opted to go UPSL instead. He gets the 13th overall pick in the second round. And then the third pick, which was an eye-opener, but one that actually warms my heart, Zach Duke, World Cup dad, a former Division I football player who had no background in soccer until early last year. If you want to follow this young man's journey, it's incredible. On Instagram, World Cup dad. He's built a nice, large following. He's completely transformed his body, and he's picked the game up. He played down in Brazil for Side Nacional in league play. He got invited to play in the TST for the Hoosier Army, which was pretty awesome as well. And now he has and he also got the chance to play for the U.S. against Mexico in the game that the Strykers held up in Ontario at Toyota Arena just a month ago. He was the 3rd pick, 24th overall.
And yeah, that doesn't mean, though, that these players that get drafted have a guaranteed spot on the roster. They still have to prove themselves at Strykers training camp, which I think starts on November 1st. But they do have the chance to impress head coach Paul Wright and newly appointed assistant coaches Daniel Gonzalez and Orlando Rolo Uribe, who, by the way, I got to spend some time with at the Combine. Really, really cool guy. He represented the Strykers down at the Combine. These kids have a golden chance to do some really cool things. But that wasn't the only bit of news that was going on, Tim. Empire Strikers managing partner Jeff Burham, along with staff members and MASL Golden Boot winner Marco Fabian, were in Monaco recently for Sportel Monaco, which, for those who don't know, and I being one of them, is one of the world's leading sports media and technology conferences. Mr. Burham had the chance to spend time with Prince Albert of Monaco, Prince Albert II, who studied at Amherst College in Massachusetts and actually played some soccer there. So Mr. Burham and the staff and Marco Fabian spreading the gospel of indoor soccer to the masses, and in this case, royalty. And last but not least, I know we said that you weren't on the show, you were in New York enjoying those bagels, and I love the fact that you went to New York and instead of coming back with a lousy t-shirt, you came back with a sense of humor. That's good stuff, and hell of a hat, by the way. But I will tell you this, we talked about the rule changes briefly, Nina and I, but since the season's about a month ahead, I figured it would be best to cover it as we approach the season so we could all be fresh in the mind. And another big thing I almost forgot to tell you, geez, Strykers have announced so many things as of late, I'm even losing track. Alex Bradley, Sir Alex himself from the Milwaukee Wave, just got signed by the Strykers. Here's a veteran of the Major Arena Soccer League that's done a lot of great things, playing for Jules Oliveira over in Milwaukee. A 31-year-old Englishman. He operates as a defender. He's seen some things, Milwaukee being one of the best teams in the Major Arena Soccer League. And the fact that he gets to be a part now of this MASL side for the Empire Strikers, that's great, because that's the veteran leadership that Paul and the rest of the staff need. You got a smorgasbord of young, raw talent. You've got Marco Fabian, but he's still a newbie in the grand scheme of things. But you bring in the likes of an Alex Bradley. You re-sign Clayson DeLima. These are really good signings for the Strykers, and they've claimed so many names. There's only one way to go from last season, and that is up. I am so excited to start calling games for the Strykers. You have no idea. This is the season that we're going to finally break the conundrum of not being able to crack the postseason. And that first game is going to be December 13th at Toyota Arena as we welcome Utica City FC.
Yeah, I was texting with Coach Paul Wright today, and he was about to jump through my phone. It was incredible. You could just feel the energy that he brought back from the combine, from the draft. He can't wait to get out there. He's chomping at the bit and ready to go. So I'm stoked for that. And let's move on to Angel City. We've got our friend Nina Kiefers coming on board with us this afternoon, hanging out with us. Nina, how are you today, my fine feathered friend?
Doing well. Thanks. Happy Halloween, boys. We've got some fun to cover with Angel City. I mean, maybe spooky fun in the sense that Angel City, as I covered last week, is no longer in the running for playoffs. The season is ending with this matchup. Portland Thorns still having something to fight for, fortunately for them, currently ranked in 7th place as opposed to Angel City's 11th place and eliminated from playoffs. We're going to be previewing this next upcoming game. They're going to be playing Friday, November 1st at 7 p.m. in Portland. That match is streaming live on Prime Video and, of course, a radio broadcast. As I covered last week, Portland scored 5 goals in their last 5 matches. Sophia Smith obviously making big chances for Portland Thorns and having a ton of shots on target. She is a girl to watch for this. Angel City, I don't think, though, are ones to just lay down and take it. Angel City have always been known for the fact that they are able to create opportunity and to fight until the end. I really appreciate the fact that this team never gives up, and I think that's what we're going to see here. I don't expect this to just be a lay down match. I think it's going to be highly competitive. So, girls that I'm watching for, of course, we've got Alyssa Thompson, our firecracker. I expect her to come out and try and score very quickly. in the matchup. So, and in addition to that, Claire Emsley, I think she's going to hit some good goals. And I have to say, I don't know if I would have said this last week, but I think Sydney Leroux is coming out swinging. And that has to do with the fact that recently Sydney Leroux was signed and we actually extended her contract. Sydney Leroux is now signed on through 2027. She says, "This is my last go and I'm excited to end my career here. My family and I are so excited to continue to be a part of Angel City. And I promise to give my everything until the wheels fall off." Sydney Leroux is going to be closing out her career at Angel City, and I can't imagine a better player to give a send-off to. We know we don't know what is next for Kristen Press. I don't know if she's going to continue her playing career. You know, she's been fighting back from injuries, but we do know Sydney Leroux is signed on through 2027 and is expected to retire with us. So far, she has 42 NWSL matches in all competitions, 10 goals and 2 assists in 2,513 minutes, and she's got 48 goals in 160 regular season match appearances. She's in the 8th all-time scoring list. Very excited to have her joining us. I think Portland is in for a whirlwind, but I've said before, you know, we got to watch them. They're going to be coming down the top. They've got that girl, Olivia Moultrie. They've got some great players in here, and I would expect a quick pace from them. So very exciting to see that. If you are an Angel City fan, make sure you join that watch party. They actually moved it over to Football Boutique on Pico Boulevard in Los Angeles. Very exciting matchup, and make sure you go out and support. I can't believe that this is the last game of 2024, but we are very excited for that. Thank you, boys. Angel City is, you know, closing out the season with a bang, but let's talk about Orange County Soccer Club.
Yeah,
First and
thanks,
foremost,
Nina.
where the heck is your costume? You've upset Hagrid. Hagrid is upset. Those listening, Hagrid's my cat. Where is your costume, Nina? It's Halloween. If you're gonna
Over
tell
there.
me this thing ever, I might believe you, but I know you've got a costume somewhere.
Oh man, I still haven't found all of my boxes since I moved.
That's all right, Nina. We'll let you slide next time, but don't let it happen again next year.
Fair.
And with that, let's cruise over down into Orange County to the playoffs and beyond. After securing a spot in their previous match, Orange County hosted Hartford Athletic this past weekend at the Champ. And on decision day, just like in MLS, USL Championship also has decision day, which makes for an amazing day of soccer on the very last day of the season. Unfortunately for Hartford, they were eliminated from playoff contention about an hour before first kickoff. And normally when that happens, you may see a team buckle under. You may see them just say, hey, we got nothing to play for. The coaching, the staff, and the players, everybody that came out to Orange County for this game this weekend from Hartford Athletic, they were having none of that. Even after the first goal comes about, Hartford was just right on it. They were absolutely on it. There was some great play this entire game. You know, the first half had a couple of injuries to key players on Orange County, and we don't have an update on them yet, but both Ethan Zubak and Kevin Partita left the first half within about 5 minutes of each other. But after that, you know, there was kind of a sluggish first half with only a really nice chance by Chris Hagart in late in the second half. But once they came back from halftime, the coaches talked to them both, and man, it was an unbelievable second half because there was a bubbling brew of 5 goals between the two teams in the second half. The game winner, after a couple of great goals by each team, came from a late substitution from, before he got injured, Thomas Among. Thomas Among has played really, really well when he's been healthy for Orange County. He came in as a second half sub, and he gets the game winner. And it's just an amazing goal. It's great for Thomas Among. It's great for the Orange County faithful that were in the stands cheering everybody on. And to get that 3-2 win pushed the Orange County Soccer Club into a 6th seed. So with that, they come in and they're going to take care of Memphis this weekend. Now they play out in Memphis, but the reality is the last time they played Memphis, they knocked them out. And the time before that, they knocked them out too. So they've had a 2-0 win back in April and a 4-1 thumping in July. It's just been really, really fun to watch these guys play, and to have them go out, really play well, has just been amazing. Kickoff is early Saturday morning, as it's 11 a.m. Pacific, 1 o'clock out in Memphis. And it's going to be a full slate of USL Championship games. So if game's going to be on ESPN Plus. So make sure you check out that game early, get onto it, and have a great time with it. And Orange County I think they're going to come out with the win and get into that semifinal round for the Western Conference. Memphis is a good team, but even at the 3rd seed, they've been susceptible to Orange County. And I think Orange County is really going to come out with the win. You're going to have guys like Seth Kasipley coming in. You've got Colin Shuttler playing in this game. Chris Hagart has really come into his own now that he's been with the team for a better part of about 5 months now. It's just really, really fun. And Memphis is in trouble. So check that game out early. Make sure that you're on that. Go to a sports bar out in Irvine, cheer on Orange County, and have a great day. It's going to be a great single elimination tilt. And with that, let's move on. Philly, how we doing, buddy?
Well, I mean, I want to mark it on the words and the lyrics of the great Mark Cohen. Instead of walking in Memphis, Orange County SC is going to be winning in Memphis. What a turnaround, man. And no surprise that a lot of the players that have been successful on that side have been on Soccer in 60, including Ethan Zubak, including Colin Shuttler. No coincidence. John Nelson was on the show. He scored a goal. John McCarthy was on the show. He scored a goal. We had a lot of success. Anybody who comes on Soccer in 60, other than, unfortunately, Paul Hardiman, seems to succeed. This is all good stuff.
Yeah, and it's really fun to see these guys coming onto the show, playing well, playing strong, and kicking butt for Orange County. It's fantastic.
Does Nina have tinfoil on her head?
I do. In fact, you mocked the fact that I didn't have a costume. So I just went and, I always have a fully stocked kitchen. And I figure...
So there's about 1,000,001 jokes that come into my mind right now, but do tell, for those who can't see you, what's with the tinfoil? What are you trying to be? Are you wearing a pilgrim hat? Are you a Hershey's Kiss?
No, it's to keep the aliens out.
Radioactive waves from infiltrating the cerebellum? What are you doing?
It's to keep the aliens out, because as we transition to the best 11, I need to make sure that my mind and my thoughts are pure.
Oh, God. All right, here we go. Best 11 it is.
Man, that's a great show today. I hope you guys are having as much fun as we are.
Let's get into this best 11. As you know, weekly, we're going to honor everyone across LA, and especially those that stand out the most. So in goal this week, we recognize Hugo Lloris for LAFC, defenders Mickey Amane, LA Galaxy, John Nelson, LA Galaxy, Carlos Garces, LA Galaxy, Ryan Dogman, Orange County SC, midfielders Ricky Pooch, LA Galaxy, and our captain this week, Matty Bogusz, LAFC, Chris Hagart, Orange County Soccer Club, forwards Dejan Jokovic, LA Galaxy, Gabriel Peck, LA Galaxy, and Denny Bouanga from LAFC. Now let's dive into it. Among the OCSC honorees, we are honoring Ryan Dogman. Dogman had 4 touches in the opponent's 18 and 2 goals. I want to let that sink in for a little bit. 4 touches, but of those 4 touches in the opponent's 18, 2 of those were goals. That is a fantastic highlight. And then moving on from LAFC, Matty Bogusz, who had 1 assist on the night and 3 chances created. Matty hit the woodwork twice in the match and earned 100% pass accuracy. And then last but not least, our captain this week, LA Galaxy standout, Ricky Pooch. As noted, Galaxy scored 5 in their match. Pooch had 2 goals and 1 assist. Now, you don't get 5 goals without some amazing playmaking, and his 117 touches, which was the most in the match definitely contributed to that. So absolutely fantastic standouts this week. Very excited for everyone on the pitch.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, Nina, is Dejan Jakovic. I get what you're doing. He played for LAFC. He's currently a member of the Serbian White Eagles. Just wanted to make sure we cleared that up. Yes, that's a Canadian professional team. You were talking about Dejan Joveljic. So I do have to say the antenna, which is that Hershey's Kiss that you're wearing, might not have completely clouded judgment.
You know, my fandom sometimes sneaks through.
Yeah, cooked your brain a little bit there, Nina. It's okay this time, though.
I do like what you did with Denny Bwanga. I'm not going to lie. I did mention earlier that he scored his 66th goal for LAFC, his 8th postseason goal, which is actually the second most in Major League Soccer since the start of 2018. Nina, I don't know if you knew this. Seattle's Raul Ruidiaz is the only player to have more postseason goals post-2018 than Denny Bwanga. And one would ponder, well, the Galaxy got a clean sheet. What about John McCarthy? Hugo Lloris led in a goal, but John McCarthy didn't square off against a freaking shot at all because Colorado's offense was practically comatose the entire time over at Dignity Health Sports Park. So I'm digging this list. I have no complaints.
Whoa, that is a shocking announcement for you. You have no complaints.
I mean, I do like Dejan Jakovic. I mean, I can't call that a complaint. But
Hey, if we can get him to play a couple of more games and get 2 more goals, hey, I'm okay with Jakovic playing a little bit.
Nah, he's a defender. He's like nearly my age. And again, he's playing semi-pro in Canada.
Absolutely.
Well, hey, if you're listening to us live out here on KMET 1490 AM radio, fantastic. And if you want to catch us on the podcast, you can catch us. Search Soccer in 60 on all of your favorite podcast network. Check us out at the Empire Strykers. That's strikerswithAY.com. They have a YouTube channel as well. You can catch us there. I'm Tim Philly Kolotz. We've got Nina Kifa. We've got Kristen Philly Philemon. We are having a great time.
Thank you very much, Darth Philly.
Awesome. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week.